Good morning. Good Good afternoon, children. Ariba, Mansi,
Good
Soni.
afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, dear. How are you all? How are you all? Hmm.
I'm fine.
Okay. Your PTM is coming very close now. You have a PTM the coming Monday, next Monday, on 21st. In the school, parents will be coming to school. So this is going to be a different mode. Okay. Chalo, can we start now? You remember what kingdom we were doing? 3 days leave. I was on 3 days leave. I think we took a break of 3 days. Hmm. Tell me which kingdom we were studying? Pratishta. Very good. We were doing
Protesta.
excellent, excellent. You remember about what all we had done here? Which was the first kingdom we studied?
Kingdom Monera.
Monera. Very good. What did we study in Monera? Okay, beta, close your cameras. What did we study in Monera? Okay. What is the difference between archaebacteria and eubacteria?
Archaebacteria are primitive ones.
Okay. And the modern ones are which ones?
Archaebacteria,
Hmm.
Archaebacteria can survive in
Yes, they can survive in extreme conditions. And eubacteria were a little different. Now we are going to study about protozoan protists. Which kind of very quickly? Protozoan protists. What is this heading? We are talking about protists. We are doing types of protists. The one we are going to do first is protozoan protist. Okay. We are doing a type of find out more about them. What is the main thing which comes to your mind when I say protist? Most important thing which comes to your mind when I say protist?
unicellular eukaryotes.
Exactly. Please remember this. This is the most important thing that we all need to remember whenever we are studying protists. Okay. And when we did the first one, that is Monera. What did we remember about Moneras?
Prokaryotes.
Very good. Okay, fine. Now we are moving on to protozoan protist. Let me start this. It includes unicellular protist with animal-like behavior. The most important thing about them is the behavior is animal-like. They were first studied by whom? Who
Anthony
discovered?
Leeuwenhoek.
Yes, Leeuwenhoek. Which year it was?
1677. 1677.
See, these kind of protists, they may be aquatic, terrestrial, or they could even be parasites. They cause several diseases in human and animals. Nothing so important in this. Let's move on to characteristics of protozoans. They are microscopic, unicellular, colorless organisms with different shapes. No fixed shape as such. I mean, there is a lot of variety in shapes. Then we have locomotion occurs with the help of finger-like. There are three options for locomotion. I had discussed with you earlier also, pseudopodia, flagella, or hericoelia. All protozoans are heterotrophs and they live as predators or as parasites. Because they're simple organisms, so respiration occurs through the general surface of the body. Asexual reproduction, that day I showed you, by binary fission, multiple fission, or even budding at times. And sexual reproduction occurs by syngamy and conjugation. You remember we had seen conjugation? If you were present, I explained how conjugation is done.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Now we
ma'am.
come to amoeboid. There are four major groups of protozoans. How many groups? Four major groups. We are talking about first amoeboid ones. I had done this. I'm just taking a quick revision of this. Amoeboid ones are the ones which move like we did the example of amoeba. How is the locomotion done in amoeba?
By pseudopodia.
By pseudopodia.
So we are talking about the first category of protozoans. These live in freshwater, seawater, moist soil. Some are parasites also. Features of this mainly they move and capture their prey by putting out pseudopodia. For example, we do in amoeba. The body is without a periplast. It may be naked or it may have a calcareous shell. What is a periplast? These I had just discussed on the basis of locomotion with you. Now we are discussing few additional features of different kind of protists. I've already done with you ciliated, flagellated, amoeboid. On the basis of locomotion, we had already classified them. Now we are doing some features. Okay. Read, there are 5 features very quickly of amoeboid protozoans. Let me discuss them with you. Read the first 5 features, beta. Read, beta. Okay. So what is the first point we've done very quickly? The most important feature is that they move with the help of pseudopodia like amoeba. The body is without periplast. It is naked or has a calcareous shell. What is periplast? I had asked you. I think we got stuck here. Then we'll come on to the next points. Flagella are present in developmental stages. They also develop when food becomes scarce. So two main stages where you will find flagella in amoeboid protozoans. What is the first condition where you'll have flagella in amoeboid protozoans?
At developmental stages.
Yes. And second is when food becomes scarce, means it becomes less. Normally beta amoeboid protozoans में flagella नहीं होता है. It sometimes develops, and if it is going to develop, it generally develops in 2 stages, either in a developmental stage when it is growing or when the food is scarce. In these two conditions, amoeboid protozoans also develop flagella. Nutrition is holozoic. Asexual reproduction occurs by binary fission, multiple fission, spores, budding, and sexual reproduction by syngamy. So इस पूरे में we just remember 2 things mainly. Body is without periplast. What is periplast? Periplast is a proteinaceous membrane below the plasma membrane. Like we have a plasma membrane. You know about plasma membrane, children?
Yes, ma'am.
So in amoeboids we have plasma membrane के अंदर एक और membrane which is made up of proteins. That layer or that membrane is known as periplast. What is it called? Periplast. It is generally found in amoeboids, in protozoans, but not in all protozoans. So we are talking about which protozoans? Amoeboid protozoans. यहाँ पे we do not have periplast. Body is without periplast. That means there is no proteinaceous membrane below the plasma membrane. So can we have the 5 points again? They move and capture their prey by pseudopodia. Body does not have a periplast, so it may be naked. Membrane है ही नहीं है. or it has a shell, calcium made shell. Membrane is not there. So we say body is without periplast. What are the two conditions in which flagella is found, children? In amoeboid protozoans?
In developmental stages and when food becomes less.
Yes, when the food becomes less. Otherwise, normally these amoeboid protozoans, they do not have flagella. And then we did this, that the nutrition is holozoic. Now we move on to flagellated protozoans. नाम से ही clear हो जाएगा. The members of this group are free living or parasitic. General features, they have flagella for locomotion, as the name suggests you. देखो, इससे भी नाम से पता चल गया था, the first one, amoeboid. Okay, movement like amoeba, and amoeba moves within her pseudopodia. So locomotion by name you can make out. Second is flagellated protozoans. See this one, name tells you they have what for locomotion? Flagella. They may be aquatic, free living, parasitic, commensals, or symbiotic. What is commensalism? Commensals. We know the word symbiotic, we know what parasitic. What are commensals? Any idea, anyone? Let me discuss this word commensals and the term commensalism with you very quickly. But before that, let's move on to this. They're generally uninucleate. I don't care. Hmm. Yes, children. The body is enclosed by a firm pellicule. There are two words which are coming for you. First is commensals, second is pellicule. Asexual reproduction is by binary fission and cyst formation. Sexual reproduction is observed in some forms only. Mainly it is asexual. Very few forms have sexual reproduction. And various species of these protozoans, they cause diseases in humans. Trypanosoma causes which disease, children?
Sleeping sickness.
Very good. Leishmania causes?
Kala
Colors.
azar.
Okay. Giardia?
Giardiasis.
Gradiasis.
Yes, giardiasis. Pronounce it properly. Giardiasis.
Giardiasis.
Gradiasis.
Okay, the last one. Tell me fast. Trichomonas. What disease?
Trichomonas. Licoria.
Okay. Very quickly now, let's move on to the two terms which we had done. What were the two terms we had to discuss? Commensalism, see beta, is another name for symbiotic relationship. I just asked you, I thought koi to dhyan dega, or is written over here. Can you see this? Or? So symbiosis is also known as commensalism, and symbionts are also known as commensals. Is it clear for everybody what is commensal? Tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
Symbiosis is a term. Similarly, symbionts are the members. So here the members are commensals, and what will be the term?
Commensalism.
Very good. Now tell me the diseases quickly. Trypanosoma causes
Sleeping sickness.
Sleeping sickness.
leishmania,
Kala
Colors.
azar.
giardia.
Giardiasis.
Gradiasis.
Very good. And trichomonas.
Leucorrhea.
Leucorrhea.
What is commensalism? Very quickly.
Leucorrhea.
Symbiosis.
Now we move on to one word which was left over here. What was the word which I thought? See, two words I told you we need to remember here. First was commensals that you have understood. This is the second word. The body is enclosed by a firm pellicule. What is pellicule? Any idea, anyone? Hmm?
Additional layer.
But a very thin layer, a very
Membrane.
thin covering, very thin covering or very thin layer is called a pellicule. So this is all about which protozoans we have just done. Which was the first one we did? They were amoeboid protozoans.
Amoeboid.
Amoeboid,
Ma'am, Ritul
this was a new
present.
word. Yes, beta. This was a new word for you, periplast. Periplast was the proteinaceous membrane which is found below the plasma membrane. There's nothing new in this. Flagellated protozoans, you need to remember these diseases and names. Then we had this new word for you, commensals, that is symbionts. Commensalism, symbiosis. Then we had this pellicule. The word pellicule means what? It means very thin membrane. So nutrition is nothing new. These words are all known to you. Now we come to ciliated protozoans, the third category. I had already discussed with you on the mode of locomotion, how we divide them into different categories. We are just taking up some more points about the same. These are aquatic, actively moving in organisms because of the presence of thousands of cilia. Many ciliates live as free living individuals, some of them in fresh water and some in marine water. So name one ciliated protozoan which lives in marine water.
Paramecium.
Paramecium. A large number of cilia are present on the whole body surface. Cilia are used to capture food and they are also used for locomotion. These protozoans have a cavity which is known as gullet. Okay, remember this word now. The cavity inside the ciliated protozoans, it is called gullet. It opens to the outside of the cell surface. Okay, what is this cavity known as in ciliated protozoans?
Gullet.
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 Yes, the coordinated movement of the rows of cilia causes the water laden with food to be settled, steered into the gullet. Understand this sentence. Coordinated movement. That means all cilia work in coordination with each other and they push. What do? They push the water inside the body of the protozoan. This water is water laden with food. That means this water which has the prey, the food is contained in this water. It's steered into the gullet. What is steering? You know, steer, you drive your car with the help of your steering. Jidhar modna hai, udhar mod lete ho. So similarly, what do the cilias do, beta? Cilias, they steer the food inside this gullet with the help of what? Of course, the cilia are coordinating with each other, but food directly nahi jata hai. It is carried along with the water. Nutrition is holozoic except in parasitic forms where it is absorptive. The body is covered with a flexible pellicule. Now tell me the meaning of this word. I've already told you pellicule. And then हम इसमें difference देखेंगे जल्दी से. What is flexible pellicule?
Thin membrane.
Yes, thin membrane, but it is flexible. And what kind of pellicule we had over here in the flagellated ones?
Firm pellicule.
Form pellicule.
Very good. The shape cannot change. The pellicule is very thin membrane. It's a fixed membrane. It's not going to change. It's constant. So flagellated protozoans have a firm pellicule. But ciliated protozoans, they have which kind of a pellicule? Just now we did. It's a flexible pellicule. Ciliates have a larger macronucleus and a smaller micronucleus for sexual reproduction. So what is the larger nucleus called as?
Macronucleus.
Yes. And what is the small nucleus called as?
Micronucleus.
Very good.
Micronucleus.
How many nucleus are there? Fine. Okay. So ciliates, they have how many nucleus?
2.
Very good. The
2.
larger one is
2.
called as? Good, good.
Macronucleus.
And the smaller one is
Macronucleus.
called? Smaller one?
Micro.
Micronucleus.
Micronucleus.
What kind of a pellicule you will find in flagellated protozoans?
Flexible pellicule.
Okay, very good. They have small ejectable trichocysts for defense. I think this is again a new word for you. Small ejectable trichocyst. Have you come across this word somewhere? Trichocysts? Anyone? Chalo, never mind. See, beta, it is a very small structure. You will find it in ciliated protozoans and in some flagellated protozoans also it is there. It is simply kuch nahi hai. It has a cavity and then it has a long thread. Okay. जैसे कोई stimulus या stimuli or prey comes closer, this thread responds to that stimuli. Okay. How will you imagine it? You imagine it like a cavity. ऊपर एक thread है and that thread will immediately respond whenever there is a stimulus. Generally, they are found in where? आपने वो देखे होंगे. You must have seen tentacles. You've heard about tentacles. Where? In which organism you know about tentacles? Yes, very good. So these trichocysts are mainly present in these tentacles around the mouth. Generally, in most of the organisms, they are present around the mouth. And the main function is what? They respond to any external stimuli. There is a cavity and upper we have thread-like structure. Thread-like structure will respond to any kind of external stimuli. They're generally present near the mouth. So they have small ejectable trichocysts. What do you mean by ejectable? Whenever there is a stimuli, yes, it ejects out. वो बाहर निकल के आएगा. Otherwise, it is at rest. जैसे भी है, it ejects out. It comes out. Okay, only when there is a stimuli. So this is ejectable trichocyst. Osmoregulation occurs by contractile vacuoles, and asexual reproduction occurs by transverse binary fission or by budding. Cyst formation also occurs, but in which conditions? Unfavorable conditions. Sexual reproduction by means of conjugation. That day I had already explained how conjugation is done. Very quickly about ciliated protozoans. नाम से ही पता चल जाएगा. They have thousands of cilia on their body. They may be free living or they may be found in freshwater marine waters. Many cilia, large number of cilia are present on the body surface, and cilia basically help for two things. What are the two main functions where cilia is helping?
For
Yes.
locomotion and capturing of
Yes. Because this is all classification now, and these are some things where you'll have to do a bit of rote learning in this chapter. Now we've come to the part I've already explained the terms to you. कि conjugation क्या है, कैसे है. But now there are some terms which have to be learned. Rote learning part of the chapter. So it's not going to be that interesting. Let's do this. Ciliated protozoans have a cavity. What is that cavity called? Tell me very quickly.
gullet.
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 It's a coordinated movement. Coordinated movement of whom?
Cilia.
Cilia. Very good. So whenever there is a coordinated movement of cilia, what goes inside this protozoan? What will go inside? With water. What is going inside the body?
Food.
Yes, food is going to go. Excellent. Body is covered with a flexible what?
Flexible pellicel.
How is the pellicel different in ciliated and flagellated protozoans?
In flagellated protozoa, it is body is covered with a firm pellicel.
Okay. And these have larger nucleus, which is known as
Macronucleus.
Macronucleus.
and a smaller one, which is known as.
Micronucleus.
Micronucleus.
Then they have special sensing structures, ejectable ones. What are they called for defense?
Trichocyst.
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 So it's like a cavity and thread-like structure coming out of it. It is ejected out. Whenever there is an external stimuli, it pushes that external prey or anything which is trying to enter the body. So this is something for defense. Learn this name, this word trichocyst, and remember they are ejectable. They are generally found in ciliated protozoan, but they are also found in certain flagellated ones. Asexual reproduction by transverse binary fission. Everybody knows the term binary fission and budding. Cyst formation does take place, but in which conditions?
Unfavorable conditions.
So on the basis of locomotion, I've already discussed three types with you. Three types of protozoans. Which was the first one?
Amoeboid.
Very good. I had already done this classification beta, but we are just doing a little more about them. The second one we did is, which one?
Flagellated protozoans.
Good. Very good. And the third one is?
Ciliated.
Ciliated one. We are moving on to this one now. Sporozoan protozoans. This includes organisms that have an infectious spore-like stage in the life cycle. All those protozoans which have a spore-like stage in the life cycle, we put them in this category. Give me an example. Very simple ones on your screen.
Plasmodium.
Very good.
Plasmodium.
Plasmodium. Let's read about them. All the sporozoans are endoparasites and they're pathogenic. What do you mean by endoparasites? Tell me.
Parasites
What are
which live within the body of host.
excellent. So they are living inside the body of the host, so we call them as endoparasites. So all of them are endoparasites and they are also pathogenic. What do you mean by pathogenic?
They cause disease.
Okay, good. I hope both the terms are clear to everybody. Hmm? They are endoparasites, they're pathogenic. Locomotory organs and contractile vacuoles are absent. Till now, what we were talking about were locomotory organs. We talked about pseudopodia, we talked about cilia, we talked about flagella. Now we have come to those category of protozoans which do not have any locomotory organs. These are the sporozoans. Nutrition is parasitic. Body is covered with an elastic pellicule or cuticle, and contractile vacuoles are also absent. Okay, you know about cuticle? What is cuticle? It's written or it's very simple for you to understand here. The thin covering pellicule, which we had discussed here, that is cuticle. We also talk about cuticle in the human body. Where will you find cuticle in the human body? Hmm.
In skin.
Where? Good. See, beta, when we talk about nails, now, whether it is fingernails or it is toenails, then at the base, आपने देखा होगा कभी कभी जब weather change होता है, some skin type thing comes out from the base of a fingernail or a toenail. Have you experienced it anytime? Weather change may normally it happens. Some skin starts coming out, skin like structure comes out from the base of the fingernails or the toenails. That is actually dead skin. That dead skin at the base of your fingernail or toenail is actually what we call as cuticle. Even the outer layer of the hair, that protective layer of the hair, there also we use the word cuticle. So when we use cuticle in the human body, don't get confused over here. Of course, it is a pellicule, it is a thin covering. It is there, hair, on your hair. We have a very thin protective layer. That is what we call as, what is it called as? It is called as cuticle. Another word cuticle in the human body is the dead skin which you have at the base of your fingernail or a toenail. Clear, everybody? Tell me two cuticles in the human body. Where will
Dead
you
skin in
find?
the fingernails and hair.
See, beta, dead skin, fingernails, and toenails. And hair ka to it is a protective covering, cuticles. We say na, apply oil on cuticle of your hair. So that is the outer part of your outer protective membrane. Asexual reproduction occurs through multiple fission and sexual reproduction by syngamy. Life cycle may include two different hosts. Such a condition is known as digenetic. Let's talk about this. Example is Plasmodium. It requires two host beta. First is female Anopheles mosquito and second is the human beings. Its life cycle is completed only if it gets how many hosts? Two hosts. What are the two hosts which Plasmodium requires? What are the two hosts which Plasmodium requires? One is female
Female
Anopheles
Anopheles.
mosquito and
Human beings.
yes, it is human beings. So we have simply classified the protozoans into four categories on the basis of the mode of locomotion. The first category was the ones which move like amoeba with the help of what?
Pseudopodia.
Cetopodia. Which was the second
Pseudopodia.
category? Good, good. Second category
Flagellated.
was one.
Flagellated
Flagellated
protozoa.
protozoans.
Okay. What kind of pellicule they have?
Firm.
Firm.
Okay. What about the third category we have talked about?
Ciliated protozoans.
Ciliated protozoans.
What kind of pellicule?
Flexible
Flexible.
pellicule.
So we talked about the first category where the mode of locomotion was pseudopodia, then we talked about cilia, then we talked about flagella, and then we talked about those category or those groups which do not have any locomotory organs. What did we call them as?
Sporozoan,
Sporozoan,
protozoan,
protozoans.
Yes, sporozoan. The best example to remember was
plasmodium,
Plasmodium.
digenetic. This is again a word for you. Digenetic. When an organism completes its life cycle in two different hosts, we call it as digenetic. This is all about Protista. We're going to start about the next kingdom. This is a very interesting one. See, remember the scientific name. It is Mycota. What is the fungi kingdom known as? Proper word for this kingdom is
Mycota.
Mycota. Please speak out. You should remember. Don't say fungi. What is the word you're going to use? Mycota. This is a unique kingdom of heterotrophic organisms. They're not autotrophic, they're heterotrophic. There's a great diversity in morphology and habitat. There are so many species in this kingdom. Basically, we are going to study about this, see, mycota and mycology. This word mycology comes from the word mycota. So when I say mycota, we are talking about the fungi. So mycology is a branch of science which deals with the study of fungi. And obviously, a scientist who is going to study about these mycotas is known as mycologist. So we have got three words, dear children: mycota, mycology, mycologist. What is mycota?
fungi,
Fungi.
Yes. And then what is mycology?
Study of fungi.
Yes.
Study of
And
mycota.
who are mycologists?
One who studies fungi.
The
The
scientists
ones who
which
have
study about fungi.
specialization in mycota or in fungi, the specialized people who study only this kingdom, they are known as mycologists. If we talk about the mycota body, it is an assemblage of long, extremely fine, transparent threads called hyphae. The most important thing that you need to remember about mycota is very fine, transparent threads. What are these transparent threads known as?
hyphae,
Hyphae. Good. Many hyphae, they twine around one another, they coil around one another, and then they form what we call as mycelium. Most important characteristic feature of this mycota is long, fine, transparent threads called, what are these threads called?
Hyphae.
Very good. Speak out, children. And many hyphae twined around one another. What will we call them?
Mycelium.
mycelium,
Very good. So when we say mycelium, we mean many hyphae. And whenever we talk about hyphae, we are talking about long, fine threads. And where are the hyphae found? In which kingdom?
kingdom fungi,
Fungi
Mycota.
or mycota. Now let's talk about the fungal hyphae. We are discussing how they are. They're very thin, tubular, transparent threads of filaments. They're filled with protoplasm and they're covered by a wall. So what is filled inside these transparent structures?
Protoplasm.
protoplasm,
Protoplasm. The hyphae are of the following types. The most important thing about this kingdom mycota is the presence of these transparent threads filled with protoplasm, which are known as hyphae. Let us study the type of hyphae. We've got about, see over here, two types of hyphae: aseptate hyphae and septate hyphae. In aseptate hyphae, the cross walls or the septae are not formed at the time of nuclear division. Okay, such hyphae are multinucleate. If a mycelium contains aseptate and multinucleate hyphae, it is called as coinocytic hyphae. Okay, let me discuss and explain this with you. Just read for a minute about aseptate hyphae. Let me explain it to you. Read, bacha. Let me explain. Read. Aseptate hyphae.
Done.
Okay. What did you understand by this? Tell me.
Hyphae in which do not have the cross wall or septa during
Hmm.
the time of nuclear division are called aseptate hyphae.
Very good. See, the main difference is that those hyphae which have walls between the cells, if they have walls between the cells, we are going to call them as septate hyphae. And those which do not have, they do not have walls and cell membranes between the cells, we call them as non-septate kind of hyphae. Now, see, there is another word which we are getting over here. This is coinocytic hyphae. So, coinocytic hyphae are septates or aseptates?
Aseptate.
Aseptate.
Yes, it is aseptate. Coinocytic hyphae are very special, beta. What happens is whenever there is a nuclear division within a cell, okay, and cytoplasm is also dividing, cytokinesis bhi ho raha hai, then we get this long compartment like structure. In aseptate hyphae, walls or septae are not formed at the type of nuclear division. When nuclear division is taking place, that time these walls are not formed. Okay, these walls are not formed. We can say that we do not have walls at the time of, at which time? Which division? Division, which division?
Nuclear
Nuclear division.
division.
Which walls? I'm talking about the walls between the cells. Don't get confused. These cross walls means the walls between the cells. So if there are no walls present between the cells at the time of nuclear division, then this is aseptate hyphae. Such kind of hyphae, they are multinuclear. That means they have many nucleus. And if a mycelium contain mycelium, I just told you the word mycelium. Let's revise very quickly. What is mycelium?
Many hyphae.
Yes, intertwined hyphae are known as mycelium. If a mycelium contains aseptate and multinucleate hyphae, both the things are there, both the conditions are being fulfilled. Hyphae are aseptate also, that means there are no walls between the cell, and they are multinucleate also. Then this kind of a hyphae is known as which hyphae? Coinocytic hyphae. Tell me the two main features of coinocytic hyphae, beta. What two things should be there? First, it should be
It should be
multinucleate.
multinucleate and
And second,
Aseptate.
cell wall should
cell wall should not be present between the cells. That means it should be aseptate.
during nuclear division.
Very good. So just remember these two keywords for coinocytic hyphae. They are aseptate. That means the hyphae do not have walls between the cells. And second is they're multinucleate. What about the septate hyphae now? In this type, cross walls or septate form after the nuclear division. As soon as nuclear division will take place, cytokinesis will take place, walls will be formed between the cells. Such kind of hyphae are known as septate hyphae. These cells may have one, two, or many nuclei. Okay. Here also, they have septal pores or cross walls in their hyphae which allow movement of substances between adjacent cells. When I started explaining, I kept on telling you again and again कि walls कहाँ पर हैं? Between the cells. So whenever we talk about these walls, we are talking about the walls between the cells. That is why they are known as cross walls. What are these walls known as, beta?
Cross
Hmm.
walls.
एक ही स्ट्रक्चर में एक ही स्ट्रक्चर लाइक आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट हाइफे हाइफे के अंदर बहुत सारे सेल्स सेल्स के अंदर बीच में इफ वी हैव वॉल्स एंड इट इज सेप्टेड नाउ दिस cross walls they help in what they allow the movement of substance between the adjacent cells from one cell substances can move into the other cells so such kind of hyphae are known as which hyphae septate hyphae what do you call them as
Septate hyphae.
Septate hyphae.
it's simple. Beta C, nuclear division हुआ, then cytokinesis हुआ. Cytoplasm is also divided. अब दो चीजें हो सकती हैं. One possibility is कि walls are formed after nuclear division between the cells, and the other condition is that walls are not formed even after nuclear division. अगर walls बन जाती हैं, cross walls are there, तो उन walls में छोटे छोटे pores होते हैं. These walls have small pores. What are these pores called as? Septal pores. What are these pores called?
Septal pores.
Yes, because these are the pores in the septa, so we call them as septal pores. Easy to imagine. Nucleus division हो गया, cytoplasm divide हो गया. अगर walls बन रहे हैं, then it is going to be septate hyphae. And if walls are being made, then walls may be have small, small pores. What are these pores known as?
Septal pores.
septate pores. It is through